Thank you for joining us. This is live with Miami's Community News, and I'm Michael Miller. We have our guest today, Robert Ruano. Tell us the name of your company again.
Ecostrata Services.
So what is Ecostrata Services about, and what are you about?
All right, what are we about? Well, the company, we write grants and do government affairs for nonprofits and cities. So we've been at it for 15 years now. I have a good group that has varied experiences from infrastructure to human services to chemistry to arts and culture.
So you help people that have a viable service be able to put together a plan to ask governments for money.
Yeah.
And then you apply for it, and they go, yes,
then,
we're in?
And hopefully they get it, yeah.
Is there a percentage of what somebody's asked for that typically is the amount funded? If they're asking, let's say, for $100,000, is there an average that they might get?
Well, if they get something, they usually get the full amount. Not too many funders nowadays cut the amount that people ask for. So if they ask for 100, they're typically going to get 100 or nothing. You know.
So it's like coming in second doesn't work anymore.
No, not too much.
So tell us about what's going on with trees throughout the country.
Trees. It's an exciting time for trees.
Yes. Tell us.
Well, it's been the federal government made a historic investment in trees. $1.2 billion, I believe.
It's billion with a B.
With a B. Right here locally, Miami-Dade County received $10 million of that to plant trees in the most needed areas. The board that I sit on, I also sit on the Arbor Day Foundation, and the board, we received $50 million nationwide to do pass-through grants to different cities. So it's really exciting when you consider the urban forestry program from the USDA 30 years ago. I mean, not 30 years ago, 3 years ago, was a $30 million program. And now they're putting $1.2 billion into trees in 1 year.
So often when we see trees that are out there, we just take them for granted that they're there. But imagine if there were no trees on the side of some of these roads.
It would be terrible. And I see it, unfortunately, there's a lot of places in Miami-Dade County that looks like that. And it's worse. It has an issue with stormwater runoff. The area is going to be hotter. Your property values are usually less. As you probably know, the areas that have the most trees usually have the highest property values. The trees also act as a barrier against wind.
I frequently go to horse country, and frequently, and on the north end, the trees are on half the trees here are like about 30-40% over the side, and the other one's coming up, and it is such a pleasure because you realize this is planned. It looks good. It feels good. The temperature is good. And it's really significant. And Coral Gables has been known for trees for many, many years. Yeah. And when you drive down Bird Road and Coral Way and the rest of them and Madruga, the rest of them, you see the trees there, it does make a difference.
Yeah.
So when you said you're with an organization, you do pass-through grants, meaning the feds gave you some money.
Yeah.
And then people are going to apply to this organization, and those are all local.
They can be all over the country. They can be nonprofits. They could be cities.
And so how would they know to go to that organization?
Well, it's going to be properly advertised. It's advertised through the USDA too. Arbor Day Foundation was one of 2 organizations that received the full amount. So that'll all be advertised as a pass-through opportunity for applicants.
So the applicants would then go out, and what type of organization might apply? And what are they going to want to do with that money? Well,
cities, obviously cities plant a lot of trees. Here locally, we have Citizens for a Better South Florida, which does a really nice job of planting trees. That's a type of organization that would apply. There's all sorts of organizations all through, Trees Pittsburgh is a wonderful organization I just saw in Pittsburgh 2 weeks ago. Wonderful organizations all over the country. They're just Nevada Plants is another one. They all their work is to plant and distribute trees. And it's very important nonprofit work.
And not only does it look good and feels good, there's a real function for it. And on top of that, the tree growers are doing some business.
Yes.
Because they get to grow these trees and they have customers for them.
Right.
And we just need trees.
Yeah, we do.
And let's talk about, frequently we see what I think is a questionable move when people put in these great big royal palms on public sidewalks.
Right.
And then 10 years later when the sidewalk is pulling up, then they wonder.
Right.
So what's the solution to that?
Well, there's a big program that actually Florida Power and Light has been pushing, and a lot of the utilities have been pushing. It's called Right Tree, Right Place. So it's basically about understanding the site, what's underground, what's above, what's around, and then understanding the tree, how big that tree is going to get, how wide it's going to spread, where the roots are going to go. So you really have to kind of figure out, not every area is good for that particular tree. And I see that a lot. I mean, there's actually a lot of places right now, a lot of some cities here that have done a great job planting trees over the years, but unfortunately they planted the wrong tree. So now you have some issues in the Gables, for example. People are complaining because the black olives trees are staining their sidewalk. I don't really care, I'd rather have the shade of the tree than, I don't care about the stained sidewalk, but people complain. And so that's one of the issues.
So one of the things that our office here in South Miami, we see a lot of, generically they're referred to as roundabouts. So in the middle there are bushes and in some cases some trees.
Yeah.
And it's so attractive when you go to get to an intersection versus just a stop sign.
Yeah.
Is that a common thing to do now, as far as the type of application there and the type of trees that are going?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. So first of all, roundabouts are great. I think they're great, and they're great for transportation because they eliminate a lot of the head-on collisions. So you have a stop sign. This car turns. This car's going straight. Or going right here. You could get hit on. So the roundabout slows everybody down. If you do have an accident, it's going to be at a lot slower speed. That kind of thing. The trees is interesting because a lot of places, and you'll see, like the Gables stopped planting big trees in the roundabouts because what if somebody goes really fast, doesn't see the roundabout for some reason, and plows right into that? If you got a big oak tree in the middle, that's a big wall that person is going to hit.
Yeah.
So you'll see now, except for I think on Alhambra and I think Blue Road, pretty much all the roundabouts in the Gables will have little skinny trees or little palms and stuff because of that.
And they already know ultimately in 5 years what that tree is going to look like.
What that tree is going to look like.
So tell us what else is going on in Coral Gables.
Coral Gables. Coral Gables wants to annex Little Gables and High Pines. You saw that?
It's back again for the second or third time.
It's back again. That'll be interesting. I was for the annexation when it first came up. I'm not sure if I'm for all of it right now. It seems like a lot of people, and I've even talked to people in High Pines that really don't want to be annexed as part of the Gables. Police is always there. The fire is close by. They get the services. So I'm not really sure if that's going to be necessary. But I do know there are a lot of people in the Little Gables that want to be part of Coral Gables. Now, the interesting thing to that will be, is there any conflict of interest on our commission? Like, do any of our commissioners or mayor?
You're talking about a Gables commission.
In the Gables, yeah. Mayor, vice mayor, commissioners, do they have any interest, financial interest in that area? Do they have any direct family with financial interest? I'm not sure. That'd be interesting.
So a couple of years ago, there was when they were trying to annex an area, I think it was off of 8th Street. And there was a trailer park there, and there were some hotels up there.
That's the same one.
Oh,
Little Gables. That's the same one.
Oh, okay.
Where there's the little hotels, hourly hotels, and they fought it hard to not be annexed. But
well, we see what happened over there in Miami Springs with the unincorporated Dade County on the west part, to where the county said, "Nope, you're not going to get it." Why? Because there's some problems that were over there. And so moves recently have not happened, all right, as far as annexation, all right?
Yeah.
So when does this go to a vote? Is that out there yet?
Which one?
I'm sorry, for the Gables.
No, right now I think they're just doing public meetings. I believe they have one. They had one last week, and they have one this Wednesday for Little Gables.
And so the city commission there makes the decision.
The city commission, no, not necessarily. The city commission will go to the county and ask the county for permission. It has to go to the planning advisory board first, and then it goes to the full county commission.
So let's talk about in High Pines, near our office over here, sort of affluent area, certainly compared to many other parts of Miami-Dade County. You get a sense from the neighbors. You mentioned that some of the people don't want it, but is there a driving force by the people there that say, "Oh, we want to be part of the Gables"? Do you see that?
I haven't really heard it. I mean, look, the taxes are going to go up. obviously, everybody knows when you get annexed, unless, I don't know what city where you can annex and taxes go down, because the county has a very, very low millage rate. But a lot of people there, so they live in big houses, they're comfortable. The fire department, the county fire department is right down the road. The police is always around that area. So it's not like Little Gables per se, that's surrounded by City of Miami on one side, Coral Gables on the other side. The police I don't really see county cops in Little Gables a lot, but if you go to that High Pines area, you do see Metro-Dade cops there quite a bit.
There's been conversation, must be for 15 or 20 years, about annexing that area. Mm-hmm. And there's never been enough push by the people that live there.
Right.
I think that's still the case.
Right.
Because if they're happy with the police, they're happy with the fire, they're happy with the zoning, right?
Right.
And then to join the city, whatever, if they want to know what their new taxes will be, they might want to see what the taxes are in a similar neighborhood, right? Mm-hmm. In Coral Gables, they're just going to put that right on top of everything. Mm-hmm. Wow. So that should be interesting.
Right. So I think is the county like 0.29 or something? I don't know. Is that what it is?
So the city commission would go to the county and say, hey, we want to take these couple areas off your hands.
Right.
Have the police chimed in yet, the fire department?
The police and fire, the city's police and fire, yeah. The police say it's a great move because of it squares off the city, so it's easier to patrol. And the fire has said it's fine also. I think they support it.
That's for the county.
The county fire does it.
County.
Yeah.
All right, the county, because for whatever the reason, I know the last time some of the unions spoke out against it because of the implications, and people don't quite understand what it means. But it would take it. Their police officers would wind up being with the city government at some point, rather than with the county.
Their police officers.
And High Pines, if that became, if they became Coral Gables at some point, those would be Coral Gables cops.
Yeah, there would be Coral Gables cops patrolling there.
Sometimes it's a year or 2 years, 5 or longer. Palmetto Bay had the county for a while. Okay, so we have City of Coral Gables and the question about annexation. Well, let's talk about mobility around the county.
Okay.
In the old days, we would say, oh, the traffic is terrible. The traffic is what it is. Now, I know you have experience in this arena. Will traffic get better, or are we just going to figure out how to manage it?
Traffic's going to get worse. It's never going to get better.
Right. This is the best it's going to be.
Probably.
We get a lot of people that move in Miami-Dade County. So even if we have a lot of public transportation, which I know is in the works, for us to drive cars, even if it dropped by 20% and it was moved, all right? It's not going to effectively change our lives. It's still going to take 45 minutes, right, to get around places. So how is the county looking at managing this traffic?
Well, there's a SMART plan. As a matter of fact, I was here 2 weeks ago talking about that. The SMART plan the county has, the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust, the half-penny sales tax that goes through transit. So they're expanding up north. They're expanding Tri-Rail. Looks like it's going to be expanding up to Aventura. You've got the bus rapid transit, which may or may not be rapid all the time, going down to Florida City. You've got an extension out Kendall, so you've got the Bay Link, or the extension to Miami Beach. So those are all projects that are in the works right now, in the plannings, or in some of them are in construction.
So one of the things we know, it's like, which comes first, chicken or the egg? So we just wrote a piece the other day, jobs or transportation for the people in South Dade.
Right.
The county, the state, and the feds are spending $300 million to put it into operation, public transportation, the BRT, all the way down to Homestead. But the reality is, people still need work.
Right.
It's just a matter of, can they get adjusted to changing how they get around? Other than Uber, I don't think I've taken a taxi cab 10 times in Miami-Dade County in my entire life.
Really?
And it's just like, I just like to drive, right? Now I'm taking Uber more when I go downtown.
Really?
I take a truck, I go, I'm not driving downtown, so I get in that. I don't know how much that really changed the traffic that are on the road. It's just I'm in somebody else's car,
right,
instead of mine. So what is the connection between the transportation issues and the job issues? That, for instance, like if Homestead or South Dade, there were more jobs. But how does that affect the plan for
Well, I mean, and the
transportation?
jobs are coming. I think that the jobs are coming. The density is already growing, and there's higher density in South Dade already. The county's rapid transit zones are making, they're helping to increase density around some of the stops. So I think that the plan is once this is complete, obviously the density is going to be higher. There's already a lot of sprawl in South Dade.
Yes.
So it may not be concentrated right by the bus stop there, but there is a lot of sprawl in South Dade, and there are people that this gives them an opportunity to go straight into downtown without having to take their car, because that's a lot of wear and tear on a car.
And I think that's one of the things that we who want to work in other places have to get accustomed to. Listen, I can take your car. This is how you're going to get there. And we do know this Southland Mall in one point in the next couple of years is going to be a massive town center, which are going to be, I don't know how many jobs it is, but it's a bunch. And people are going to go there and they're going to buy stuff, and it'll be not just shopping. It's going to be, you can go there and be entertained. And, and big organization that's doing that. We who are on the South End are looking forward to that, finally having something that's good. So, and tell us about if you know about walkovers from one side of the highway to the other, instead of being able to trying to figure out how to get across the street. Are you familiar with any of that?
You mean the bridges and all
Yes.
that? Yeah. I'm not and it's funny. If a friend that's a planner hears this, he'll, as I say it a lot, I'm not a big fan of the bridges that they make around US 1. But I mean, some people use it. Some people, obviously, they feel more comfortable using the bridge and not crossing. I think that the crossings at grade should be better, more visualized, more safer for people, wider crosswalks, that kind of thing. The problem with the bridges I think that we have here is a lot of them don't connect to anything, really. They just basically, you have to go up, you go across, and you go down. If you look at some places, even in Europe, you see some crosswalks that go over a street, and one side will connect to a plaza. It'll open up. Vegas, for example, it opens up to a plaza and such. And people tend to take it because it takes you to a destination. But if it's just taking you to the other side of the street and then going down, like, it would be a lot better when they start doing that. I think more people are going to use it. It's going to seem, oh wow, this seems a rational way to cross.
I saw some prototype drawings for some roads in Coconut Grove, which change it from a vehicle setting to pedestrian.
Okay.
It was magnificent. And really, when you go into a pedestrian setting, you automatically slow down. Yeah. And at some point, you say, that's for people on their bicycles with the kids, right, maybe on the scooters, which I see all over now. And to see how that might change our driving. Say, if you're going to go to Coconut Grove, don't bring your car. Right? Figure out some other way to get there because you're going to enjoy it more. My family members used to live near Cocoa, so they would just walk over. And they were able to go to all those places there, which was really amazing. Right. And downtown, I see how people live in those units upstairs. Yeah. And they walk downstairs.
So we should.
I get a call from somebody. I ran into your son the other day. I said, where was he? In his office. And I go, really? Yeah, his office is North Miami or South Miami Avenue. I see him there and walking up and down, having conversations with people on his way to Publix or the other stores that are there, and to see how there is a whole generation that type of living is perfect for them.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm just not used to it, but when you go there and you see it, it's really phenomenal. To where the density, as you said, was there, and people, that's just their lifestyle. And versus the other people that live out west where they like more a different environment.
Well, one thing that the county is doing, which I think makes sense, is they're doing these town centers, like you're saying. You said Westland Mall, or they're doing these town centers in different places. Southland, sorry. And that's helping. That's going to help because there's mixed use there. In many cases, mixed income housing. So you have workforce housing next to market rate or affordable housing, all in the same building. So that's where we need to be. Really.
We know the county has said in county land near public transportation, they've improved the zoning and reduced. Correct me if I got it wrong. Reduce the requirement for cars.
Of course,
so that people would say, this is what you're going to do. You're going to live there, and you're going to walk over here, and you're going to get on the bus. And if you move there, it's with that understanding.
Right.
And you're not going there if you got 4 trucks. You're going to go someplace else. So it seems to be a pretty good move for the county to get that density. And also the state just, I think it was House Bill 102, 104, that allows in commercial areas for affordable housing. And if it's a certain percentage, they're going to give you lots of variables on that. And it's been, depending on what city you're in.
Some cities are not happy with that at all. Like my city, Coral Gables is not happy with affordable
But
housing.
it's interesting because, let's see, the state did it to the county, and to the cities, the county does it to near the cities across the street.
Right.
So that's just the way that it works.
Right.
And we see some of the big developers moving forward, which would create that density, and I think that's what we want.
But you know what? It's interesting. Like for example, Coral Gables doesn't want affordable housing. They really don't want workforce, as far as I can understand. But the founder of Coral Gables, George Merrick, actually had pretty much what was considered affordable housing or workforce housing. He wanted that mixed income housing. So you had houses, you had apartment buildings, you had duplexes, you had all this mix of housing. So there could be people that were pretty well off and people that weren't well off. I think you need a city with everything.
I was at 37th Avenue, I think it's 37th Avenue US 1, new building is up there. There's an Aldi in there, right? When you're at that stoplight, it's beautiful. Across the street is, I think it's Metrorail and some other stuff, and that Milam's Market is over there. I think it looked beautiful, right? And that's a whole mixture of things. And right down the street from there is Lifetime, which costs a bunch of money to be a member. So there's that mixture where people can be exposed to that. They can decide you want to go to Aldi's, you want to go to Milam's, you want to go to Lifetime.
Trader Joe's,
all right?
That's where we go.
In South Miami, the old Winn-Dixie property, as we like to refer to it, big apartment buildings going up there.
Yeah, Fresh Market. On the ground floor, yeah.
And which will attract people from all over, right, to be able to go there. There's going to be a couple hundred apartments that are there. Those people are going to be out. They're going to be walking around South Miami. Cheers, all right?
All those restaurants are going to
and that's the prime thing.
Yes.
And I think that when you have that density, that's going to happen. Also, before the City of South Miami Commission is a new Shops at Sunset property where they're asking for much taller for apartments or condos and offices, a hotel.
I think there was a hotel originally.
It's going to bring people here.
Yep.
They're going to go out on the streets. And that will be a town center.
But you know what? I hope that when they do it, I was driving by there the other day, and I hope that when they do it, they consider this. If you look at Sunset Place now and you see it on US 1, it turns its back to the street, right? And it's just a very narrow sidewalk and stuff. I hope that whatever they do develop has a wider walking area that has a pleasant look and stuff, so that people don't feel scared and feel uncomfortable.
And to your point, when it is a smaller sidewalk, it's just like it's a very uncomfortable feeling.
No trees, yeah.
Right. Bigger sidewalk where people can actually have a conversation and not worried about this 3 or 4 foot sidewalk. So the city's taking a look at that soon, and we hope that they come up with something that works for all of us. Can you tell us about those little scooters that are out? Have you seen them?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
What about them?
I just want to know, have you gotten on one in Bristol?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I've gotten on them. Yeah, no, I don't think I've gotten on in here. I've gotten on in Tampa. But yeah, they're fun. You know, they're interesting. The interesting thing about a scooter, and I'll share this, like when they first came out in my city, and like after people were using them for a year, they did a little study for people, and they asked people what would they be using. If they didn't use a scooter, what would they be doing? Some people said that they'd be using their car, but a good 40% said that they'd be walking. So it took 40% of the people out of walking and using the scooter instead, which I think is going to be a scary thing. I mean, I understand when people use it like for transportation for a long ways, but if you're going 2 or 3 blocks or 3 blocks that you can walk, it's better for us to walk, I think, you know?
The new thing with doctors and exercise people, move. Just keep moving. Keep moving.
Yeah.
So I had brunch on Sunday, downtown-ish area. Every method of transportation was there. It was just incredible. People walking, young people, some with scooters, some with Uber, some with their kids and the thing. It was really
That's
great.
nice to see.
And all the beautiful people lived there. It was just like, it was amazing, right? to see that. And the people were healthy and felt good about living there. And when you're there and you watch it, and mostly younger, 25 to 40-ish in there. everywhere, and on the big sidewalks, and how that is so pleasurable when you get down there
Right.
to where you're not running into each other.
Yeah.
I see I think the Night Center is going out for bid, something to happen to that soon.
What is happening? I didn't know that.
I heard they were thinking about redoing that whole thing there.
The Night Center? Oh, the Night. I'm thinking Night Foundation. Yeah. Night Center. Yeah, they've been talking about that for like 20 years.
Yes,
to redevelop that.
It's time, I suspect.
Is it the Siskovich plan or no? He had a plan.
I don't know. Okay. But I'm really delighted to see that. And you get to be old enough, you get to see the first time and now the second generation of that same site. So,
well, that's the same thing with Sunset Place, Bakery Center, third, right? Yeah.
So this is the one, and this one's going all the way, baby. All right, so for people who live in Miami-Dade County, it's a matter of getting used to the traffic, and it's just mobility. What's the best way for us to get around and move through Dade County? I hope the county comes up with a plan to continue moving people from farther west to get them downtown. It looks like I don't know how much hope there is for the Kendall Parkway. I don't know if that's going to happen.
I hope not.
All right, so you have that issue that seems to have been killed at this point.
I think so.
And if it was going to happen, it's years.
Yeah, if it's going to happen,
many years. And I continue to hear, by the way, that there's still a group of people who are trying to trade in the buses that haven't even started yet on the BRT into trains. Now, maybe if people feel better about getting in a train, I go, wait, these are brand new buses.
Electric, too.
Electric.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and so the difference is one says train, and can our egos not be able to handle it?
Well, might be the difference is, I don't know if you've heard this yet. We'll find out on Wednesday at the CITT meeting because, I serve on the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust. We've asked the county if it's going to be full bus rapid transit all the time, like signal prioritization. I forget what it's called. There's another term for it. Throughout, and what they said was it's only going to be the buses are only go through the lights. Basically, what happens in the mornings, rush hour going north, and in the afternoons, rush hour going south. So that person that lives in Florida City that wants to take the BRT to Dadeland to work can get there faster than the person that lives in Dadeland and wants to get to Florida City to work in the morning. That doesn't make sense. Now, we'll find out on Wednesday, but that's what they told us July, June.
Well, we know these things are not going to be perfect, but we shouldn't stop because it's not going to be perfect, but we've got to figure out a way that works for people. And then what is the function of that, whatever that happens to be? And if we can get a little bit clearer on that, they can get more supporters, say, yes, this seems to have worked. I'm delighted that it's moving forward. And one of the things we recognize about people and about wars, if you cut off the roads, all right, you cut people out. So in connecting this, maybe that we'll all feel a little bit closer to down south instead of having to deal with cutting them off, which we did a wonderful job of that. All right. And so now this is adding to the value of the people that are there. You're important, county's spending money, so let's keep that connection going.
Yeah.
Hopefully there'll be some improvements down there in Florida City.
Yeah.
And so we can build up this county in the ways that it needs to be. If you had to guess the top 3 cities in Miami-Dade County.
And by what? How would you?
Well, it's like, what makes a great city?
What makes a great city is, I think, tree cover for me. I guess I'm biased, but tree cover, it makes a great city. Walkability makes a great city. Bikeability also is important for me. But it's just being a city that has good, adequate housing, good commercial areas close to that housing, events, recreation. Yeah, and top 3 cities. You want to know my top 3 cities? Let me see. I can't pick my clients though, because that if I don't pick a client, I got to pick non-clients. Coral Gables, where I live. Aventura, not a client. I don't know. I don't know if that's my favorite. I think Miami Shores is a really nice little city. That has a really nice little living environment. And Doral has done some great stuff. You have to give it to J.C. Bermudez.
Yes,
he did a wonderful job. And
we got about 20 seconds. I think Doral It's on a similar level as Coral Gables, being able to, when you look at the whole thing. I know Miami Shores went from the worst to certainly one of the top ends, and the hippies started it back then, all right? And it was like super. Robert Ruano, thank you so much
Thank you,
for being
Michael.
here.
Good to see you again.
Folks, thank you for joining us. And Julian, thank you for producing the show. Have a great